those prices are going through the roof. And I think because of the stress that inflation is putting on those areas in your life, it's putting stress on other areas of your life, like smartphones are contracted by almost 20%, like meaning there was negative, it went backwards. So that means people are not buying phones as often. Wouldn't surprise me if we start seeing phones like iPhones and the new Samsung phones and the Google phones to start being released a little less frequently as we head into this recession, as the recession starts to build and we potentially hit a depression. Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and today we're going to be talking about how to protect your money against inflation, because let's look around. The inflation is going crazy right now. It's at a 40-year high. We're at 8.6%, and honestly, I think that is actually a subdued number compared to what people are really experiencing. I think you go to the gas pumps, you look at your gas bill at home, you look at your electricity bill, you look at your food bill when you go to the store, all the things that people are actually spending money on day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, on their expenses to actually live and maintain their life, those required expenses. Those costs are going through the roof. And I just did a video the other day on TikTok actually that showed those prices are going through the roof. And I think because of the stress that inflation is putting on those areas in your life, it's putting stress on other areas of your life, like smartphones are contracted by almost 20%, like meaning there was negative, it went backwards. So that means people are not buying phones as often. Wouldn't surprise me if we start seeing phones like iPhones and the new Samsung phones and the Google phones to start being released a little less frequently as we head into this recession, as the recession starts to build and we potentially hit a depression. But here's the deal. I think inflation right now, no matter what, it's part of this world right now. And we're going to be living in this. And a lot of people think that inflation is low and that the Fed can control it or that it's transitory. But if we go back to the 1970s, you will see that long-term inflation, when I say long-term, I'm talking like a 7 to 8 year window where the average inflation rate was about 8.2%, right? So it was about where we are now and we're freaking out about it. The 70s were basically a decade of that happening. And when you look at that, we had gas lines, we had energy crisis, we had all these things going on. It's really eerie if you go back and you look at the articles and you look at the headlines in the news from the late 70s to the headlines as they are today. And it's like, did I just hop in a time machine? It's really that eerie. And so I think the important component to here is like, how do you protect your money? How do you protect your wealth? Everybody's in a different place, right? Like, so if you have, let's say, not a lot of money, well, now it's just a function of you got to do something differently, right? Like, I think you need to prepare. We need to position ourselves for the recession that's going to be coming. So protecting yourself from inflation in a lower income, in a lower net worth, in a scenario where maybe you don't have millions of dollars, or you don't even have a couple $100,000, or even 50 to 100 grand sitting in a bank account, it's going to impact you differently, and there's going to be a lot more stresses. So that's where it's important to tighten the belt, to tighten up your finances, to cut unnecessary expenses, to really dial in where every dollar in your life is going, and to potentially pick up side hustles and invest in yourself and create different streams of income so you can control that income more, right? If you can create a bit more income, you got to do that, and you got to be willing to put that sweat equity in the short term to create that result and to be able to control your income to that level. If you're making $50,000 a year at your job, go work a side hustle. If inflation is going up 10%, let's say, go work a side hustle, make an extra $5,000. It's going to suck, right? Like, you're going to be putting that extra time in every single year to make that extra $5,000, but you're going to do that throughout the year, but it's going to make up for inflation, right? Because if inflation is 10% and you earn an extra $5,000, that means that's what you need just to maintain your standard of living. And so get ahead of this. Get ahead of it before it's too late. That's what I can say. Now, on the flip side of that, if you do have money, if you have 100 grand, if you have, or more, or like, it doesn't matter how much money, if you have money that you have sitting there that you're worried about, what I'm telling people is we need to prepare, because a lot of people are worried about inflation, but I'm saying keep your money safe, because this inflation, the Federal Reserve policies, the monetary policies that we have with the federal funds rate, it's all putting pressure on the economy. Stocks are coming down. I think interest rates are going to go up. I think there's going to be pressure on the real estate market over the next 18 months to 24 months. And I think the real estate market is ultimately going to have to succumb to those pressures, even though I think it's going to take a little longer for that to happen compared to the stock market and Bitcoin and those assets that we're seeing right now. And so for you, I would say just kind of take the pill and just take it on the chin and deal with the short-term inflationary problems and get your money to safety. And that can be keeping it in a bank. It can be getting your infinite banking policy set up. It can be a lot of different things. And if you have questions about infinite banking, reach out. There's a link in the description below. We can help you out. But keeping your money in safety is going to put you in a position where you have your emergency money and you have your opportunity fund. And I always tell people, like, right now, we're in this position where there's no good answer. There just isn't. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have it all figured out, because nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows what direction this is going to go. However, I look at these things through the lens of what's the upside, what's the downside, can I live with the downside? And right now, the upside isn't very high in the markets. So why am I going to take all this risk to chase a little bit of upside when the downside could be potentially catastrophic, right? And so what I'm looking at is I'm looking to protect the downside, because I believe that there's going to be opportunity on the other side of this. So if by protecting my downside, it means I take a little risk and I lose a little money or purchasing power to inflation in the money that I have in my safe, liquid, accessible accounts, that means that money is going to be sitting there. It's going to be accessible for me. And when the other assets, when stocks get devalued, when real estate prices go down, when businesses close, when things of this nature, when cars start to get repossessed, when the economy really turns, and guess what? It's going to turn. There's going to be a windfall of opportunity for the people that have access to capital in that environment. And so I'm willing to lose to inflation a little bit short term to take advantage of the opportunity that's going to come in the next 2 years, right? Does that make sense? Because if I have to take the risk to be able to get the returns to beat inflation short term, well, that means I'm taking risk and I have the chance to lose that money. I don't want to lose that money. I want to guarantee that I'm going to have access to it when the opportunity comes. So once again, this all just comes down to, what do you believe? What do you want to accomplish? And if you could put yourself in a position where you're protected from against emergencies, if you lose your job or anything of that nature, you need to make sure you're not putting your money and keeping your savings in that safe money in an account that can lose money, because the worst thing you could do is lose money and then have to liquidate that money or investments, liquidate those investments to be able to pay for your life, to pay your bills if you lose your job or anything like that. So you need that emergency fund, and then you also need that opportunity fund. And that is why I did the Life 180 Pyramid Talk. So go check that out. It talks about the importance of financial structure, and really where people end up losing their money in the long run is because of the way that they flow their money through their lives, their financial design and structure, and how they handle and their relationship with money. And I know that sounds kind of woo-woo-y as far as like our relationship with money, but I promise you, if you understand this concept and this principle, it will change your life. It will open up for opportunity. And I interviewed Harry Dent on this channel about 3 weeks ago, and he said, be prepared for the sale of a lifetime. And I believe that. And what he has been saying is coming to fruition at this point in time. And so what I would say is get ready, position yourself, get ready for that sale of a lifetime. But the only way you're going to do that is to have money in safe, liquid, accessible accounts that you can access when those opportunities are presented to you, and you can act fast, because this is why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. You can either thrive from this or you can suffer from this. The choice is yours. If you have any questions, comment in the comment section below. If you want to engage with somebody on the team, there is a free clarity call link that we are doing for anybody that has any questions about their personal financial design, how to position yourself, prepare yourself, get set up for the future that's coming. We are entering this recession. I think we're already in this recession, whether we want to admit it or not. It's going to be confirmed next month. So let's get ahead of this. We're here for you if you need anything. You can email me, chris@life180.com, if you have any questions about anything. But that's it. If you, anything you need, just go ahead below. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, click the bell, that way you get notified every time I launch a new video. That's it for now. Have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll talk to you on the next video. See ya.